What's up, blockheads? Welcome to Fitch's Block Academy. We will be diving straight into our first lesson in our mod education series. We will be reviewing the newest version of JEI, Just Enough Items, learning and reviewing its features in depth. This specific version is for Minecraft Java 1.12.2. As always, I will leave a link to download the mod in the description, as well as a link to my Discord if you guys have any further questions or just want to chat it up with me there. Now, this mod is pretty much a standard to all mod packs. It has two major features to describe it in its most basic form. JEI adds a large menu on the right of your inventory that shows all the items from vanilla Minecraft as well as any mods that you may have installed. It also has another key feature of showing the recipe to make any of these items or blocks. Now, one of the major features this mod has to offer to the player is the ability to see crafting recipes for all items and blocks currently installed in your game. Simply hover over an item or block in your inventory and press R to see the recipe. Like I said before, this works both for vanilla and mods. Or you can left click on an item or block in the JEI inventory on the right side of the screen while you're in your inventory. It's very easy to forget even some basic vanilla recipes, let alone keeping track of all these modded recipes that get added to your game as you start compiling a couple mods together or playing on a mod pack. They may have even changed the recipes entirely in mod packs using Craft Tweaker or something like that. That's where JEI becomes so useful, is remembering all these recipes for you. So you can just easily scroll through any of these things and just find a recipe for things that you really don't want to remember or you really don't have to. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is these lower arrows here when you're in a recipe for an item. So we're on the recipe for an iron ingot here. You can click through these lower arrows in order to see different ways to complete the craft through a specific method. So this is the way of crafting, is the methodology here to get to an iron ingot. So each one of these crafting methods will lead you to get an iron ingot. Now, these upper set of arrows here, this is going to change the method. So by clicking this, you're going to see different methods available to create the desired craft. So we're going here for the iron ingot. Now, the delivery methods and processes to produce the desired craft, block, or item are going to be different, but either way it's going to result in still getting us that ingot. So through crafting these iron nuggets together, we'll be able to grab this iron ingot, or by taking a block of iron and putting it in a crafting table, we're going to get the 9 iron ingots. So if we go over here to smelting, it gets us a different delivery method of getting us the iron. So we're still receiving the desired item or block through a process, but instead of crafting, it's through smelting. So by smelting iron dust or iron ore, we're still going to receive that iron ingot. Now, with all that being said, if you want to see the uses for an item, you can also do that by hovering over an item, whether that's in your inventory or if that's in the JEI inventory. You just go ahead and press U on that item or block. As you can see, when we hit U on an iron ingot, we're able to see all the different things you can make with an iron ingot. Now, the lower set of arrows here, same as before, is going to show us all the different things you can do with that iron ingot within this method of crafting. So within crafting, we're going to be able to make all of these different things using the iron ingot because we're under the uses of the iron ingot. Now, if we switch the methodology, which is here by using the top part of the arrows. Now, if we switch what method we're using with the top arrows, you're going to see the different uses inside the anvil. So in the anvil, we can use the iron ingot to repair all of these different things that are made of iron. In the metallurgic infuser for mechanism, you can combine the iron ingot with these items to produce these new items as well. And then in the crusher from mechanism as well, you're able to destroy the iron ingot and make it back into dust. So these are also different types of uses for that iron ingot still, just in a different method than crafting itself. Alright, the next thing I'm going to walk you guys through is the use and functionality of the search bar. You can type the name of anything that you want to search for right here. You might also search in a few other various ways. In order to activate these options, you just go over here to the JEI config, the little wrench there. Then you want to go over here to search options. Now you can select one of 3 different options here for each one of the actual search options. So you can change this from required prefix, disabled, and enabled. We're going to mess with the color. This is the first example. So let's change this to enabled. So what this means is that this is going to be in a fixed setting of always on. So the color search is going to be constantly on without requiring a prefix, which is that little caret thing right there. So let's say we want to type in the color red. Now every item that is the color red or has red in its texture is going to pop up in the search bar here. Now, for comparison, let me go into the options here and show you the difference between the required prefix and the enabled. So now using the colored search option again as an example, let's try typing in red again and seeing the results that we're going to get by putting this in as a required prefix. And I already had it typed in here, so it just popped back up. So now only items with the name or with red in its name are going to pop up here. And then some of the mod items, just because mods would be weird like that sometimes. But now if we put the required prefix in, which is the caret, and to be honest with you guys, I had no clue what this symbol was called until I did a little bit of research for this video. So hopefully, at least if you didn't learn anything from this video besides this, you learned that this symbol is called a caret. You go ahead and put the caret in and then red. So now the required prefix being the caret for a color search is entered, and then the color. So the search using the color can now be done because we have the required prefix entered into the search bar. Okay, so now that you guys understand the functionality of the 3 different options of disabled, obviously meaning that this color search cannot happen within the JEI search bar, enabled meaning that it's constantly on, so that if we just type the color red in, all of the items with red are going to pop up, and required prefix meaning that this caret has to be inserted in order to do a color search. Those are your 3 different options for the search options. I know that's a lot of options here, but you understand what I'm saying. Let's just review the other search options real quick. This is the creative tab option. We're going to change that to required prefix real quick just for demonstration. So let's say I want to look for something by creative tab, which I have no clue why anyone would want to do unless you've just massively memorized the creative tabs and that's just kind of been your thing until you've realized that JEI was a thing. Let's look up the redstone creative tab. So now everything that would be under the redstone creative tab is popped up right here in the JEI menu. So this way you can search by the different creative tabs using that required prefix of the percentile. This is the most useful search option in my opinion, is the mod name. I would just change this to enabled. I've never really seen a reason why you shouldn't just have this as enabled. It's just super easy and I think super useful, especially when you're running mod packs and you only want to use a few, and you only want to look for a few items within a certain mod while you're doing a mod pack. Like I can type in mech for mechanism because it's the only mod I have installed. It'll pop up all the items here from mechanism, but just to prove, I'll type the rest of it in here. But now that I have mechanism pulled up, I can only see items from the mechanism mod here. Just because I have it enabled, it's always on, so I didn't have to put that prefix in. I just don't think you really need the prefix required when it comes to mod names, just because you know you're looking for something if you type in the mod name. and you really won't run into things where a mod name is going to be the same as some item from some other mod. I've never had that issue yet, but if you do, just throw that required prefix thing on there. The last setting that is actually pretty useful here is going to be the OR dictionary. Just put that in a required prefix. So let's say I was looking for an item that required copper and uses copper here. And you have a couple different mods with different ORs. This is going to bring items down to their OR dictionary. So everything that actually has copper from the copper ore inside of it for use of the basic blocks is going to pop up here. So all this has copper in its ore dictionary, and that's one way you can search for that. These other two, resource ID and tooltip, I had issues finding their functionality. So if you know how they work, please comment below, because I watched about an hour of tutorials and looked through wikis, GitHub, Reddit, and couldn't figure these out. And the information I did find didn't hold true. I tried using block IDs for the resource ID and using the required prefix. Nothing worked with these two. So I'm not sure how these two work, the tooltip and the resource ID, but I think they're pretty much garbage at the moment. At least with the most updated version of JEI, I couldn't find any functionality with these two. Alright, now we're going to go through some search bar quick tricks. So with the search bar here, the first quick trick or quick type thing, if you guys like to be quick about how you're typing, or maybe you're in like a faction mod server or something, you just want to be able to look up things quick here. To access the search bar quickly, you're just going to go ahead and hit Control F, and now you're going to get your cursor over here to type right away. So instead of clicking in the search bar, you just hit that Control F and it pops up. To clear the actual search bar, you can go ahead and just right click, or I've found that you can just down arrow as well on the actual control arrows. You can just hit the down arrow and that'll pop that down and erase it as well. And then as well as looking up your previous search, you just go ahead and hit that up arrow and it's going to pop up the previous search that you just searched in there. You do have to type it out and then hit enter for it to count as a previous search. Otherwise, it won't be in your search history. Now with a couple recipe view quick tricks, to scroll through these bars, let's get this out of here. You can obviously just click through here and look through the pages, which can be a little bit tiresome when you guys get up to like 150 different pages when you have a bunch of different mods in here. I recommend just using the mouse scroll wheel. You can scroll through all these pages pretty rapidly, and it makes it a lot quicker to find what you're looking for. If you want to look for all of the recipes or uses of something, you just go ahead and click up here. This is going to show all recipes. And this is going to be all the different methodologies, as I explained earlier, the difference between that. All the different things you can do is like chemically infusing, brewing, fueling, crafting. These are all going to be the different recipes and uses of items. And then as a quick side detour here to explain something, when you're smelting or crafting or anything like of that sort, you can see that there's different things here on the side. So these are going to be all the different items, blocks, or entities basically that are going to be able to allow you to smelt. So all of these items here on the left are going to perform the same smelting task or method of crafting these items into these items. One last thing, in case you do get annoyed by looking at the JEI settings, you just go ahead and hit Control O and it'll take the entire little JEI inventory off there. I guess if that annoys you for some reason at a certain point. Next we'll cover cheat mode. A lot of people don't know this, so this may be for my more experienced people with JEI. You can actually just control click JEI to enable cheat mode. So now I can just grab, instead of hitting this and getting a recipe for something, I can just get the items straight out of the side here. And all I had to do was control click JEI config to enable the cheat mode to change from recipes to getting the items into my inventory. Also, you can enable cheat mode right here through the settings. Now another useful thing is going to be the give mode for the cheat mode. With this, it's currently set to mouse pickup, so as you saw here, let me just go back to show you. When I was in cheat mode and I took something like a jack-o'-lantern, I had to like physically click it and then put it in my inventory, which reminds me, you can just, as long as it's the same item, you can click and get a whole bunch of them here, and get up one at a time. I can get as many of these as high as the item stacks up to 64, obviously, but also I can just shift click and get a whole stack. Now if I change this to inventory instead of that mouse pickup, let's say I shift click diamond, now I have a whole stack right in my inventory. This, let's say I didn't want some of this stuff, I just physically take this and click it back into the JEI inventory, and that'll delete it. The next thing that we're going to go over here is going to be the hide ingredients mode. Now the use of this function is to hide items you don't want to see in your JEI inventory. For example, if you have pages of repeat items or blocks with only a slight variation, or like I said, if you're a server owner that banned items and you don't want players constantly asking you about them, you can hide them with this setting. Being that all of the plastic barriers are causing this dupe, we can actually just shift click, and this is called wildcard mode. It's just a fancy way of saying that it's gonna click and control. So now we can just control click and select all of the barriers. So instead of just that one item, it's going to select all of the items that are in the same category or subcategory as that. So you can control click and it'll select all the barriers to be hidden. So now we go to false, go back, the barriers are gone. You can't even see them in the JEI menu. You can just go ahead and click apply globally if you're the op or admin of the server. This is going to automatically change the setting in all of the other JEIs inside the other players' clients, which is a super nice feature that you can just change everybody else's JEI settings from your client here. Now to go over the last couple options here we have, this is the center of the search bar. This literally, all this is going to do is move the search bar away from the JEI inventory back over here underneath your inventory. This was a previous setting of NEI, and I suppose just people don't like to see things get changed up much, so you can just go ahead and change that back to this. If you the overlay width and GUI height are just going to affect the size of the GUI right here, the JEI inventory. Let's see here, the mod name format, so right now it's in blue italic. So let's say this is Minecraft, that's the mod name. You could change this to whatever you want. So let's say we change this to green. Now the mod name is going to pop up there as Minecraft still, but it's going to be green instead of blue. I guess it's just like a color preference thing. Same with here with mechanism, it's going to be green now instead of blue. The green's a little brighter, I guess, if it helps you see, or you just want to change it to a different color just for fun, you can do that. We have the JEI bookmarks. This is actually a newer setting in some of the newer versions of JEI. You can go ahead and highlight something to be on the left side of your JEI inventory if you're constantly looking up that recipe and don't want to have to look it up. So let's say the end crystal has just been giving you all sorts of trouble to remember, and you're using it a lot more frequently than you thought you would. Just hover over that, hit A. It pops up right over here in your recipes now, so you can have your own personal bookmarked selection of recipes on here on the left. So like I said again, I still think having all these items in your inventory and then just being able to hit that plus to move the items is going to be the most useful thing. Now we want to make a bunch of obsidian TNT. We just hit that move items. Bam. It's done. You have to shift click this move items if you want to make the maximum amount of that recipe for the item. Well, that sums up today's lesson on JEI. Hope that there was some tips and tricks for both masters and novices of the mod. If I left something out, please comment it below. If you found this video helpful, pick up that diamond pickaxe of yours, swing it away, and break that like and subscribe button. I will be teaching the ins and outs of NEI for Minecraft version 1.12.2, which is now an add-on of this mod here, JEI. It adds a ton of cool features back into the game, so look out for that video. As always, this is Fitch Lions reminding you, Hakuna Matata, don't swim in lava.